So everybody, of course, thinking about the president and the first lady testing positive for COVID-19. I want to talk to you a little bit about how did you find out? Once you found out, what was it like? And then, of course, the conversation you had with the president that night.
Well, I found out the White House called, and it got made public that night when it came positive. I want to know how the president was doing, the first lady. I know he had to be sent to Walter Reed, and that first night, that Friday night, he called me around 11 o'clock at night. I could tell he was sick by his voice normally, but he was strong, and we talked for quite a while about different things, trying to get a COVID relief bill, some of the challenges we still had going with the speaker. And then I kind of said, you know, I got to let you go. You need your rest. I thought my mom would get mad at me. So I let him go, but I've talked to him every day. I talked to him twice today, and he's strong. I mean, when you talk, the last couple of days when I talked to him, it's like he was never sick. It's amazing. And
have you been tested since?
I've been tested so many times. What's interesting, I was not with him that week. I was back in the district when they had that Saturday event they invited me to, and I was tested like a day or two before that, but I had not been around him that week, which was fortunate for me.
Have you been tested since, though, just to be safe?
No, I haven't been tested. And what I do is, you know, I keep a Whoop. And what a Whoop is, W-H-O-O-P, I got this for all the people on my campaign staff because it's a wearable, but it measures your respiratory. Right. And what we found with Whoop is that it can diagnose before you even show any symptoms based upon your respiratory. So I got it for people on my staff because if they were feeling that way, I don't want them to come into work. It's another way of testing ahead of time, but I've probably been tested more than 30 times.
Right, yeah, every time we've talked to you. Yeah, every time you've been around the president, that's for sure. I want to talk about the president stopping negotiations on the stimulus bill. What's the Republicans in the White House strategy behind that, and do you agree with it?
Well, he hasn't stopped it. He's still trying to get an agreement. I think what he was trying to do there, Speaker Pelosi has been the roadblock the entire time. And here we are where thousands of airline jobs are going to get laid off. Thousands of small businesses are struggling because we have $137 billion sitting there in the PPP program, but she won't even let us change the date so it can go back out to companies who need it again, a small business. And you know that money goes to the employees. So I think he's trying to use different tactics to put more pressure to get something moving, but he's back, he's in talking.
So are they back in negotiations?
Yeah, Secretary Mnuchin is trying to get something with the speaker. And you know, every time before where we did different COVID relief bills, it was always Speaker Pelosi who held them up. And it's unfortunate because people are really hurt. Like when we need more money for the PPP for small business, remember her at that refrigerator holding it up? Or the first big time with the CARES bill, she held that up for more than a week. And she's been holding this one up for months. Remember she told us in July she wouldn't let Congress out until we passed one, then she had us all leave. Then she called us back for an emergency, and it was dealing with the post office. So what I did, I put a bill on the floor that dealt with COVID relief, and they voted it down. And then what Republicans have done, because we continue to fight for this, we have what is called a discharge petition, meaning if we can get 218 members of Congress to sign a discharge, you can go around the speaker and actually bring the bill to the floor. And we have one for the PPP program to help small businesses and their employees. We're almost at their 218, but she discharged everybody from Congress.
Right, I was going to ask, how have you worked with Democrats specifically, either conceding to some of the things that they want in return to make something actually happen, though, to help support people who are struggling through this pandemic?
You know, if you watch, our government is not designed that you get 100% of what you want. So I know we're not going to get 100% of what we want, and you're going to have some give and take to try to come to an agreement. We have moved a great deal. Offering what they first asked for within schools, we offered more. We offered greater flexibility in the states. It really comes down to that the speaker, she won't take yes for an answer. I think in the end, and this is a very sad point, because I know there are a lot of Democrats I talk to who are upset with her because they want an agreement too, because they see people hurting. But she feels as though it's a political win for her, because if the economy hurts more, it's less likely an incumbent gets reelected. So she thinks somehow it hurts the president.
How are we working together with the House and the Senate? How are you working together with the House and the Senate to get a health care plan moving forward for people, especially given the pandemic right now?
Well, we want to make sure those with the pandemic are taken care of. So we provided billions of dollars, which you have watched. Even here in Bakersfield, I was able to bring that testing facility, the only one in California that the feds brought in. We firmly support pre-existing conditions as they go. I've worked a lot with Leader McConnell on the other side in the Senate. The real challenge is the Speaker has the power in the House, unfortunately, and a lot of that has been stopped.
Now, you recently sent out a release saying that Republicans plan to restore our way of life, rebuild the greatest economy in history, and renew the American dream. What does that mean for us here in Kern County, though? Well,
it's a commitment to America for Kern County and the rest of the country. And it really comes down in three different segments. First of all, you have to defeat this virus. And when I say about defeat the virus, you have to have a safe and effective vaccine. And we're not just going to have one, we're going to have 6. And the uniqueness is how we've gone about funding this. It's not forced upon anybody, but it's there for it, and you're going to see it come to fruition this year. Look at the therapeutics that we've invested in. You've watched what the president, the cocktail that he was able to take, and now Eli Lilly just came out this week with an ability for therapeutics that can give you the same as the plasma into your skin to help you fight the virus itself, your own body battling it off. We want to make sure we protect pre-existing conditions. We also go down to make sure that our streets are safe. We've watched these riots go throughout America. So we oppose defunding the police. We actually propose adding $1.75 billion to police for training, for community policing, and 500,000 new body cameras. We then have a plan to rebuild our economy, to add 10 million jobs this year. And how we go about doing that, we have a tax proposal. Small businesses are going to need help, right? More PPP. But we need a tax proposal to actually help people. They can write off going to restaurants again, live events, give the encouragement to go forward. And then we build the economy by ending our dependency on China. If there's one thing that we should have woken up to in this virus, is how dependent we have been on China and the supply chain. So we changed that, bringing the manufacturing jobs back to America. Then we have a third leg of the stool for the economy. We have a 5-year plan for our infrastructure to rebuild our roads, our bridges, our airports, and make sure every house has the internet. And then what we go into the final version about restoring the American dream, that every child can go to an excellent school. Because education is the great equalizer. And in the middle of this COVID, while there's in-home learning, it's not equal. And children should be able, and parents, to send their children to excellent school. I also spent most of my time making sure we deal with veterans. Every veteran should be able to get a job that wants one, and making a health care system that works for them, that they can choose their doctor. And in the very end, making sure that we protect Social Security and Medicare and take care of this debt. That's in a nutshell what the commitment to America is. And I think anytime somebody runs for office, we should tell the American public what we're going to do and hold us to it. Unlike what Joe Biden's saying today, he literally said if you want to know his position on stacking the Supreme Court, he'll tell you after the election. It's much like what Speaker Pelosi said when they passed Obamacare. You have to vote for it first to find out what's in it. That's not the way Americans work.
I want to ask specifically about the $1.75 billion, I believe is what you said, for policing. Where is that money coming from, and how soon would that actually happen?
Well, we'd have to appropriate it from the federal government. It'd go out to the departments across America. It would be tied and set to making sure your training is up to level. We also need to, that we found within these challenges, that people don't report when cops are fired. It's only a certain amount of them that reports into a system that the Attorney General keeps. We should allow all of that so another police department doesn't hire a bad cop. Community policing. We found here right at home in Bakersfield the support for community policing, the PAL program and others, that these police departments are in the neighborhood, that the officers know the neighborhood, that it's a positive experience before a negative. So you interact with people, you know if somebody has a challenge or not and how to talk them down. Greater training is very important. And then a really important element of this, 500,000 new body cameras. I've always felt transparency is the best, and no matter what we're talking about, be it in the money of politics, be it in the pricing of drugs, be it in police officers, because sometimes good police officers get accused of something and the camera shows it's not true. Sometimes you'll find a police officer does something wrong, the camera shows it. I think everybody would be in a better situation to understand what's going on.
I do know that in past stories we've done, the body cameras are one hurdle to jump over to actually get the cost up front, but then it's also the storage. So what's the plan to support the storage?
Well, we would continue to build on this, supplying grants as you go forward to keep the storage, because the storage is so important. It's just not just buying it, but being able. And the one thing you should know is storage is coming down so much cheaper all the time. But just as any situation, you watch that something that happens that's controversial, before we take an action or jump to a judgment, the body cameras will tell us the truth. So then you have trust within your own community. Was the action taken by the officer correct? Was it too far of action taken? That it really takes away any doubt and lets the sun shine in.
I want to talk a little bit about the upcoming election. What are you expecting to accomplish if you're elected for another term?
Well, we have a lot more work to get done, especially in the middle of this COVID and pandemic action. I mean, there's things right here at home that I'm working towards. More water for the Central Valley. Even though Sacramento is fighting it, we've got a biological opinion that would actually bring us more water. The rebuilding of China Lake and Ridgecrest, I was able to get $3 billion working with Senator Feinstein across the aisle. What I found is just right here at home recently, getting a new grant for the fire department, replacing some of the old equipment, rebuilding this economy that I just talked about. We're at 13% unemployment. We were at 6% before this pandemic. Making sure our way of life continues to grow. I've watched Sacramento challenge our energy department here, our energy field, our energy jobs. So how do I maintain and help keep those jobs working? You need a very strong voice in Washington to do that. You know, I want to make sure everybody in Kern County has a seat at the table. It's not my seat, it's theirs. And I want their voice to be heard. And that's really the element of what I'm doing and why I'm running to finish the job.
Now, you talked about having that strong voice in Washington. The president has talked multiple times about you potentially being the next Speaker of the House. If Republicans regain control, would you accept that position?
Yeah, I would. We have to win the majority. First and foremost is to represent my district, but anything that puts us in a stronger position to make sure that we put this country back on the right track. When I sit and I listen to the other side, think about what they're asking. They want to defund the police. They want to dismantle this nation. They're talking about defunding officers, but more importantly, raising your taxes on the very first day. They're talking about ending fracking. What would that mean to Kern County? Probably about a 20% unemployment here. It would end thousands of jobs, but more importantly, it would raise the cost of gasoline. But where would we be getting our oil from? A foreign country that is not environmentally sound like we are today. These are real challenges that we face that not only affect this nation, but affect us right here at home. And we need somebody on the front line in the strongest position possible to not only stop that, but put us on the right path to prosperity.
I do want to touch on oil here just momentarily. Because of the pandemic, obviously, you know, we've been hit hard here. And moving forward, we know that it's already forecast that we could potentially be losing a lot of money because of the pandemic so far. How do you expect to support them if you are reelected to make sure that jobs are secure and people aren't, you know, losing their homes and becoming homeless, et cetera?
Well, see, that's what I talk about in the Commitment to America, that plan to build 10 million new jobs this year. It's one with a tax proposal, ending our dependency on China, bringing manufacturing jobs back here. I mean, we cut a great deal of red tape, and you watch this county grow to one of the strongest places we've ever been, where you've watched that I had employers calling me where they couldn't find people to work. Now, not just with the pandemic, but really with the attack from Sacramento, trying to take our water. The governor just recently telling us what we can grow here. The governor now saying that he would not renew permits for our oil fields to be able to pump the oil and the jobs that it creates in the Central Valley. Those are real challenges why we need somebody in a strong position. And I'm going to make that happen to stop that from going forward.
And you've given a lot already, but as we head toward November 3rd, why should people vote for you for another term?
Well, first and foremost, I will always listen to you. I will listen to your concern, but I will always represent you. Be it from a veteran to just a phone call that you need help with a federal agency, to making sure this economy is stronger, that we have more jobs, that we have a safer community where your streets are safe, where your kids can go back to school, where you have a safe and effective vaccine, where your own health is protected, and that we're able at the end of the day to lower the prescription drugs, where not only you can live longer, but your quality of life will be better.